Welcome back to the Island of the Arts. I'm Oliver Luke Delory, and in this episode we'll learn that everyone's a creative genius. Let's go.
There's a light in the dark, shining bright on the Isle of the Arts. An open mind, an open heart, let love rule on the Isle of the Arts. Tap into your creative spark, express yourself on the Isle of the Arts. Laugh and play, that's a start. Welcome to the Island of the Arts.
Thinking outside the box is what we're really talking about here.
I mean, I've never thought about that before. I've never thought, wow, what if every single human being on the earth could access their ultimate purpose? If everybody on the earth was connected to the sacred within them, I don't think we'd be on earth anymore. We'd be somewhere else. I think that would be heaven. There's so many different modalities of creativity. I mean, really, it's just finding your authentic voice and your ultimate purpose, and being able to confidently and fearlessly explore that and use it for good, to create goodness. So if everybody was doing that, wow.
Like, imagine everybody tapped into their creative abilities and having enough time and resources to do that. That would be the upliftment of humanity as a whole. Because if we're still tapping into all the ways that we can be creative and all the things that we can create, imagine there's no limit to that. There's no limit to what can be created. So for me, that would be, yeah, just it's almost utopic to speak of it. But I pray for a day where we reach that state.
I think every person can be an artist. And you don't say that. You don't say, I could never do that. Because I'm a human being, we're all the same. We all have the, basic, our brain works the same, and it's your mindset, So if you get rid of that idea and you tell yourself, I would tell you that you can do it. And anyone can be an artist. But it's all your confidence. And it's all, if you tell yourself you can't do whatever, you're limiting yourself. If one human being can do something, anyone else can do it. And if you're inspired enough, and if the will is there, you can do the same thing. If you want to spend the time that I did, that I do, I've been at it professionally 50 years, and I do make art just about it. I don't ever remember not making art. Some days I do other things, we all need a little break. But to think you can't do it is not true, because we're all capable of it. And if you put that time into it, it doesn't have to be what I do, but if you really want it, you sacrifice that time to learn how. You teach. I taught myself how to do everything I do. And if I could do it, then if you think you can't, then maybe someone can inspire you, teach you a few little tricks. And then so that's absolutely not true. I believe anyone can be an artist, and it's all about your approach, your intention, and what you want the outcome to be. And if you can, it's all about the approach. What approach? How do you want to approach this? And with your intent, And I don't believe in people who say, oh, there's crafts and there's artisan and there's artists. I think anyone, if you're making a functional, something functional, and you put that intent in there, and you put that creative energy into that, and you give yourself the confidence, and you tell yourself that this is mine, and it doesn't matter what it looks like when it's finished. I'm gonna just keep working on this, and because a lot of times I don't plan what I do, and that's a real value about learning contemporary art and art history. Because if you learn art history and you learn contemporary art, it's a radical concept and it frees you. It frees you to not, you don't have to do exactly what someone, if you want to make a piece of pottery or a knife, you don't have to do it exactly like someone thought. You make it your own. And so if it's not perfect, it doesn't have, what is perfect, you know? In the Buddhist faith, we say, you know, there's no such thing as perfection. And some of my pieces, I have polished I used to polish them so smooth. And you think it's perfect, but it's never perfect. So what I would do is I'd put a couple of scratches in there to show that it does not, nothing is perfect. It doesn't have to be. So if you don't, you know, if you give yourself that confidence, that tell yourself, it doesn't matter what it turns out to be, all I gotta do is start doing it. And something will happen, and it'll be your own.
It's almost unimaginable, but we wouldn't have war. I don't think we wouldn't be interested in the territorial kind of pursuits and the pursuits of money and for money's sake, and the greed and the power, the hunger for greed and power. Those people aren't being satisfied. There's no satisfaction in their life. It doesn't come from money. Most artists are not doing this for money. So it's a deeply satisfying involvement, and it means we don't need to buy the same amount of stuff. All the machinery of I suppose capitalism is totally driven on a sense of there not being enough. When you're creating and you're really in the flow of it, it is so satisfying. There's nothing else that will do that. Nothing. So we don't need a lot when we're there.
We live in a society that the meta-narrative, if I can call it that, is about, you know, being productive citizens, going out and getting jobs and making money and stuff like that. You know, that's how we measure success. You know, there's an old country and western song, "Don't let your sons grow up to be cowboys." Somebody came out with a bumper sticker for a while that said, "Don't let your children grow up to be artists." You know, and I thought, well, you know, I waited a good chunk of my life to start feeling like I was an artist. But the unleashing of imagination, the engaging in creative acts, to me, kind of defines humanity. You know, I'm pretty pleased when my dog invents a game to play by itself. I think, wow, that's really cool. You watch little children in their play often let their imagination run amok, and they have joy in it, and look at this and share it, and that's all great. It saddens me that in many ways we kind of drive that out and bury it in people, and it takes a long time to come back, if it does. So, you know, I would be really pleased if more people unleash their imagination, if more people acted on it, if more people engaged in creativity for their own pleasure, and to share it is magic. You know, it's a wonderful thing to be able to do.
When we live in joy, we don't need to fight. You know, when you think of the world leaders and really look at them, they're in fear. And when you think of people who are angry, you know, it's their fear. When people are trying to one-up you, it's their fear. And, you know, people who are stuck in jobs that they hate, it's their fear. And that fear just keeps manifesting out in ugly ways. And so when people stop fearing for their life, then the world will be different. You know, when people don't need more, you know, don't have that greed, you know, when their heart is full, then yeah, life would be different.
I think that it would create a world of gentleness, a world of love and giving, because it does get people out of dark places. They can get people to, when they're creating, they're creating work for not just themselves, but also for society. And art is a sign of a healthy community and a healthy lifestyle. And yeah, it's not just, and I'm not just talking art, I'm also talking architecture and design, and all these things combined, when they're built and created with creativity, that they create a much better environment for us all. Yeah.
Everyone expresses their creativity in different ways, and sometimes it's the care they give for the children in their lives, and sometimes there's the unique relationship with clients that imagine possibilities for them to move ahead. And hopefully it'll be about, you know, climate change and dealing with the issues and the social injustices, and all of that requires a kind of creative potential. I think inequity gets in the way when people are worried all the time about just keeping going. It's hard to imagine possibility, and it's hard to enact their dreams in ways that we consider creative potential. So I guess ultimately it will be a more equal world because we'll all have opportunities and space.
So many people believe that the world that is the only option. It is not. We have invented all of this. The world we're living in right now is the direct result of men in charge. But it doesn't have to be that way. This is not the way life has to be. We have options. Even money. We invented money. The entire concept is a human construct. People are, myself included, we are slaves to an idea that we had thousands of years ago, right? Like talking about computers earlier, who is still using a Commodore 64, right? As a society, we have to upgrade our operating system because the system that we're using right now, the proof is everywhere. It is not the best system. It is not the only system. For the muggles, like the people who are convincing you of your muggleness are invested in keeping this system, and they will convince you that there's no other way. But there is actually an infinite amount of other ways we could do things. We are limited only by our imagination. I would say the biggest thing for everybody is to stop self-limiting, to stop just accepting that this is just how it is. It's always been this way. Why? And why does it still have to be that way? We can alter our reality. Our reality is nothing more than an extension of our collective will. If we can change our collective will, we can change our reality. There's no reason why we have to destroy the earth. We don't have to. We're choosing that because we haven't tried anything different yet, because so far the people in charge haven't wanted to. It has not been in their interests to try anything different, right? The banks are making a lot of money right now. Why change it, right? It's bad business sense, coming to business, right? The business model that we're going with right now is that this is how the global economy runs. Therefore, we must maintain and increase it to keep it going. Why? Because it's bad for business to change. Well, it's also bad for business if everyone is dead. Once we've pulled up all the resources, once there's no more food, well then what, right? We're not going to go to another planet because we can't even make it to Mars yet. Like, there's no viable plan B. I think the muggles need to be shown that there still is magic in the world, actually. That people are looking for salvation in the wrong direction. The things that we've invented, the systems that we have in place are not going to help us. They're not going to help the person who is stuck in a dead-end job wishing that they could be a writer. It's not going to help the person who is trying to get an education, to get a trade so that they can get by, but all they want to do is dance. You know, it's not helping the person who has no means to get the training to be the botanist that they really want to be. Like, we don't have to do things the way we're doing it. We can do things differently if enough of us want to, and if enough of us believe it's an option. So I think Muggles need to be shown that there is another option. There's actually an infinite variety of other options. We've just, like, all the dice have been rolled for the past century and they've come up this way, right? Like if we were playing Dungeons and Dragons or some other many dice, like, okay, this is what we're doing now. But everyone has assumed that the dice can no longer be rolled. Like everybody I talk to, like so many people are invested in this idea that this is how it has to be. It's like, we can just re-roll. But enough people need to see that as a viable option before it can happen, right? So Muggles need to, we just need to stop hiding the magic, I think, for the Muggles, so that the Muggles can realize that they have magic too, if we're using that analogy, right? So the creative people can show the not creative people that they in fact are creative. If we are all shown that we can all use creativity, not only to express ourselves, but for problem solving, for like connection building. Like creativity is there. It's available to all of us. We can get creative with everything, even our societies, even our land management. There are so many possibilities. So yeah, don't believe the hype. Don't swallow what you're being fed. Actually open your eyes and look at it. And for everybody, like, what is important to you? What kind of life do you want to make for yourself? And then work on doing that. You're not guaranteed success, but at least you're going to be doing something that you believe in. So many people I see have lost hope because they are trying to follow these guidelines being given to us by people who don't actually have our best interests in mind. You know, why is so much of our population medicated right now? Why is no one looking at the fact that we need to medicate ourselves from our reality in order to be able to endure our reality? You know, how is that a solution? Let's say no, right? Just say no to the status quo and try for better.
Everybody's creative. Everybody has the potential to be creative. It exists within everybody, and it doesn't have to come out. You don't have to be a painter. You don't have to be a silversmith. You don't have to be a fine artist or a potter or any of those. It's just the way you live your life. I think creativity is just the way you interact with people, everyday conversations, and just how you touch other people's lives. So I think it's really important that they know that it exists within them and it's just there.
Thank you for exploring the arts with me on Gabriola Island, a magical place where creative culture thrives.